So I've lived in San Diego my entire life. I grew up in North County. I went to college here, and I've spent a lot of years helping people figure out where they actually want to live when making the move to San Diego. And even after all that time, there's still neighborhoods around the county that catch me off guard a little bit. You drive into one of these pockets and you think, wait, how have more people not heard about this place? Because when people start researching a move to San Diego, they usually hear about the same areas over and over again. You have La Jolla, downtown, Encinitas, North Park, Carmel Valley, maybe Mira Mesa. And look, those are all great spots. But San Diego County is huge. You've got the beach towns. You've got established suburban neighborhoods. You have pockets tucked into hills. You have rural communities that still put you within a short drive of the coast. And the truth is, some of the neighborhoods that may end up fitting your lifestyle the best are not always the obvious ones. So today we're breaking down 6 underrated places to live right here in San Diego that a lot of people aren't talking about. These are actual neighborhoods, not just cities. And we've got everything from a coastal oceanside pocket with larger lots and ocean views, to a central San Diego neighborhood surrounded by trails, to one of the most unique rural feeling communities in all of North County. And stick around to the end because we've added a bonus neighborhood that gives you a completely different version of La Jolla than most people picture. But let's get into it. First up on the list, and I wanted to start with this one, is because it's one of those neighborhoods that surprises a lot of people when they actually drive through it, and it's called Fire Mountain. When most people think about Oceanside, when they picture Oceanside, they're thinking about the pier, the harbor, the beach, the downtown restaurant scene that has changed a ton over the last several years, but this is a little bit different. Fire Mountain has a completely different feel. It sits on an elevated hillside just east of the 5 freeway, just north of the 78. You have established streets, mature landscaping, larger lots for the most part, and a mix of custom homes, many of them built in like the 70s and the 80s. So depending on where you are in the neighborhood, you also get some really nice coastal or ocean views. Because you're not directly on the coast, you can sometimes get a lot more house and a lot more land than you would in places like Carlsbad or Encinitas at the same price point. Location wise, it's also fairly convenient if you spend most of your time in North County. You have the 5 and the 78 close by, so getting into Carlsbad or Vista, San Marcos or Encinitas, it's all pretty easy. Now, if you commute into, let's say, central San Diego or downtown every day, that's something you want to think through because traffic can definitely add up, especially on the 5 freeway. But for a lot of North County buyers, the location makes a lot of sense. The big story here is lots. Depending on the actual property, you may see homes with more space, more privacy. A lot of them have, landscaping that's been growing out 30, 40 years, but you also have room to update over time. Some homes have been completely done. They're all dialed in while others still have that original feel, but that could be a good option for someone who wants to make it their own. You're also super close to a lot of everyday stuff. The beach just down the hill, just a few minutes away. Downtown Oceanside's nearby with new spots popping up all the time. There's also longtime local favorites, and that's where a lot of the growth in Oceanside is happening right now, in that downtown corridor. If you like a little bit of golf, Goat Hill Golf Course is nearby, and you also have the convenience of a shopping center nearby where you got Target, you got Trader Joe's, among other things. Now, Fire Mountain's not a brand new master plan community, and that's exactly why some buyers like it. It feels established. The homes don't all look the same. The lots vary, the streets vary. You really need to drive it and get a feel for the individual pockets. So if you like the idea of being close to the coast, but you also want a little more space and you don't necessarily want to pay Carlsbad or Encinitas prices, Fire Mountain should probably be on your list. Now, Fire Mountain's not for you. The next neighborhood is a neighborhood that a lot of San Diego locals drive past without really even thinking about it, but it's one of the most underrated locations in all the county. And that neighborhood is called Tierra Santa. Now, Tierra Santa has a nickname that gives you a pretty good idea of what it feels like. It's known as the Island in the Hills. And once you drive into the neighborhood, that actually starts making a lot of sense. Tierra Santa is surrounded on multiple sides by Mission Trails Regional Park and canyon areas, so it feels a little more tucked away, even though it's actually very centrally located. You're close to the 15 freeway, you're close to the 8. Mission Valley's not too far. Downtown's about 15-20 minutes away without any heavy traffic. You can get to a lot of different parts of San Diego without feeling like you're starting way out in the edge of the county. But once you're inside Tierra Santa, it feels much more residential. You don't get a ton of random through traffic. It's kind of tucked away in its own little environment there. You have established streets, it's been there for a little bit. You have landscaping everywhere, canyon views in certain pockets, and a lot of the homes were built in like the 70s through the 90s, so not brand new. There's also a cool little local connection here. Tony Tony Hawk, professional skateboarder, spent some of his younger years in Tierra Santa, so it gives the neighborhood a fun little place in San Diego skate history. Now, one of the biggest lifestyle draws is access to Mission Trails Regional Park. Now, from Tierra Santa, you can get out there for a hike, a trail run, or just some time in open space without having to drive across the entire county. So if you like having a nature close by while still being centrally located, this is a big part of the appeal. There's also a Vaughn's and a neighborhood shopping center for the basics, but this isn't the place where you're gonna walk out your front door. You don't have a huge restaurant scene right in the center of town, waiting for you like certain other parts of San Diego. It's more of an established residential neighborhood where you're going to hop in your car for a lot of the errands or nights out and stuff like that. But if you do want a quieter neighborhood feel, you want good access around San Diego, Tierra Santa is one of those places that deserves more attention than it gets. But the next one we're hopping into is a completely different vibe than anything we've covered so far. So this is one that's for a specific type of buyer. And if it's you, you're gonna know it right away. But real quick, if you are thinking about making the move right here to San Diego and you're trying to figure out which neighborhood actually makes sense for you, reach out to us anytime, call, text, email. You need to take a screenshot. Our number's popping up right now, or all of our info is right down below, and we could hop on a quick Zoom call. We'll pull up the map, go through your price point, what you're actually looking for, and help get you dialed in the areas that actually fit your lifestyle. But let's jump into the next neighborhood. Now, South Park is a completely different type of neighborhood than the first two, and that's why I wanted to keep it on this list. This is for somebody who wants more of an urban neighborhood feel, but still wants a house, a yard, and a little more character than you're gonna find in like newer condo buildings or a lot of the suburban developments around town. South Park sits just east of Balboa Park, just south of another neighborhood you might have heard of called North Park. You're literally minutes from downtown and right in the middle of a lot of the things that people love about central San Diego. But the neighborhood itself feels more relaxed than some of the busier areas nearby. Now, down in South Park, you have tree-lined streets, craftsman bungalows, Spanish-style homes, and a lot of architecture that gives the neighborhood a lot of personality. But these aren't cookie-cutter homes. A lot of the appeal is in the details, the front porches, the older streets, and the fact that every block feels a little bit different. 30th Street and Fern Street are the main pockets for local businesses. You're gonna have coffee shops, restaurants, bars, independently owned spots, and a lot of that South Park neighborhood feel. Buena Forqueta is one of the better known restaurant anchors. You have Fall Brewing nearby, Balboa Park's right there, the zoo, museums, trails, and green space are all super close. Now, one of the main trade-offs is that you're not getting a giant house or a huge lot for your money. Parking in the specific block can matter. You're also probably driving to like Mission Valley or another nearby area for bigger shopping trips. But if walkability, character, local restaurants, and access to central San Diego are high on your list, South Park's one of those neighborhoods you should spend some more time exploring, actually getting out there and go checking out in person. But if South Park's not your vibe, the next one is a North County pick that most people searching San Marcos completely miss. Has a feature in the middle of the neighborhood that you don't get in a lot of other areas in San Diego. And this neighborhood is called Discovery Hills up in San Marcos. So San Marcos has been getting a lot of attention lately, but a lot of that is centered around North City, which is nearby, but Discovery Hills is a little more tucked away. It doesn't get nearly talked about as much, but it's definitely worth knowing. Discovery Hills sits in the southern portion of San Marcos near Cal State San Marcos. The neighborhood's been there since about the 1980s. It has an established feel you don't always get in the newer North County developments like the Hill District or Mission Circle right nearby. And even though it's a tract neighborhood, there's no HOA, which is a nice little perk. Now, right in the center of the neighborhood is Discovery Lake. It's kind of more of the pond, but it's right within the neighborhood. You have trails around it that connect out to some more open space. And it's the kind of thing you wouldn't necessarily expect to find tucked in the middle of San Marcos, but it's a great little lifestyle perk if you are living in that neighborhood, especially if you got kids. There's a trail going around there, and it's a good place to get out and about. Now, I mentioned North City. It's not within North City, but it's right on the outskirts of where they're doing a ton of building within San Marcos. San Marcos doesn't really have a downtown. They used to have Restaurant Row, which is now being converted into housing. But over time, as they built out North City, they're putting up these big apartment complexes, these big buildings, some newer construction communities as well nearby. But this is definitely going to be the new downtown, and it's all within about 5 minutes or so from Discovery Hills. So as that grows out, you're going to be getting some new restaurants, some new shops, some new areas to check out, all within that North City corridor. Now, if you're commuting every day to central San Diego for your job, you're gonna wanna think about the drive and the 78 traffic. But if most of your life is in North County, Discovery Hills is a really great location. Now, this is one of those neighborhoods that may not immediately show up when somebody starts searching San Marcos online, but once you check it out, once you drive through it, once you go to the lake and kind of do a lap around there. Now we're getting into some of the higher end neighborhoods on this list. And Del Mar Mesa is one of the more unique neighborhoods in San Diego because it gives you land, gives you open space, you have trails nearby, and a much more private feel while still fairly close to Carmel Valley, to Del Mar, and the coast. A lot of people hear Del Mar Mesa and they assume it's like right next to Del Mar, right near the beach, right near Del Mar Village, but it's not. Del Mar Mesa sits a little bit further inland. It's on an elevated mesa with Los Penasquitos Canyon and open space nearby. And depending on the property, you get a larger lot, you get some canyon views, you get direct access to some of these trails, and a much different feel than what you find in the denser parts of Carmel Valley. The lots vary quite a bit, so this is another area where you'll really want to evaluate the individual property and not just look at the price per square foot. So for somebody who likes hiking, who likes trail running, mountain biking, horseback riding, the access to open space is a major draw. Now the trade-off is pretty simple. Del Mar Mesa is not walkable in the traditional sense. You get in the car for coffee, for restaurants, for groceries, and most day-to-day errands. And you're also paying a premium for the land and the setting. Someone looking for more space, more privacy, more open space access without heading all the way out to some of the more rural parts of the county, Del Mar Mesa is a pretty special option. And the next one, this is one that I get excited talking about. It's in Encinitas, but it doesn't look or feel anything like most people would think when they picture Encinitas. So let's get into that. Now I might be a little biased. I live in Encinitas. I spent a lot of time around this area, but Livin is one of the coolest pockets in all of San Diego County. And if you've never driven through it, it might not be the picture that you're thinking when you hear Encinitas. You're only about 15 or 20 minutes inland from the coast, but the feel changes very quickly when you get out there. Some of the roads get a little narrower, the lots get bigger. You'll see horse trails running alongside the roads. You have no street lights in the area. You have a lot of trees, a lot of surrounding area because these lots are bigger, so a little space in between, and homes sitting on a much larger pieces of land. You're still close to the beaches, to downtown Encinitas, Cardiff, Leucadia, restaurants, shopping, and everything else you like about coastal North County. But when you're at home, you can feel much more removed from it all. The equestrian side of Livin is a real part of the neighborhood. You have dedicated horse trails throughout the entire area. You have equestrian properties, larger lots, Little Oaks Equestrian Park right nearby. And even if you're not into horses, the trails and open feel are a big part of what make this neighborhood different. Out there, the homes can vary a ton. You'll find some older ranch style properties, a lot of custom homes, remodeled estates, and larger luxury properties. A lot of the areas have 2-acre minimums as far as lot sizes go, but you also find others that are much larger. And compare with Rancho Santa Fe, which is just to the east, Livin may give you a similar sense of space and privacy while also keeping you closer to that Encinitas lifestyle. The trade-off here, there's not much infrastructure. You're not walking to restaurants, you're not walking to coffee shops. Depending on the specific street, the roads can feel narrower. There's some dirt roads back there still. And at night, it can get dark because of the dark sky policy out there. But that's part of the charm for a lot of people and something to be aware of for others. But if you're looking for land, privacy, a more rural feel, and access to the coast without leaving North County, Livin deserved to be near the top of the list. And now for the bonus, and this one's specifically for the person who's been thinking about La Jolla, but wants something that actually feels like a neighborhood. This changes how a lot of people think about that whole area. And the bonus area is an area of La Jolla called Bird Rock. Bird Rock is technically part of La Jolla, but it doesn't feel like the version of La Jolla that most people picture. When people hear La Jolla, they think about the Cove or the Village, the restaurants, the hotels, and all the tourist traffic. Bird Rock is farther south and it feels more like a coastal neighborhood. La Jolla Boulevard runs through the middle of it, and you have local spots like Bird Rock Coffee Roasters, Beaumont's, Wayfair Bread and Pastry, and a handful of other shops and restaurants that give you a more of a little bit community feel. You have that kind of like your downtown area. You're close to Tourmaline Surf Park, Calumet Park, the water, walking past, and some really nice coastal views. Now, depending on where you are in Bird Rock, you might be able to walk or bike to coffee, to dinner, or even to the beach. The housing mix in here is pretty interesting as well. You have smaller beach cottages, older Spanish style homes, remodeled properties, and modern rebuilds. Now, some of the homes are on tighter lots, which is normal for a lot of the coastal neighborhoods. This is nothing different here. Now, the trade-off here is that Bird Rock is a little difficult to get in and out. There's really only one road coming in, so if you're going that way, you're probably gonna hit traffic at some point. If you're coming through PV, especially during certain hours, you're gonna hit some traffic. But once you get into there, this is not the touristy section of La Jolla. That's a little bit further, but you still have access to all the restaurants, all those amenities as well. Bird Rock's still in La Jolla, so it's not a value play in the traditional sense, but for somebody who wants coastal La Jolla living with more of a neighborhood feel and a little less of that destination slash, downtown La Jolla feel, Bird Rock is a really good one to know about. Now, those are 6 underrated places to live in San Diego, plus the bonus. Now, San Diego has a lot of layers, and when you're actually thinking about making a move here, the best neighborhood for you is not always the one that shows up first in your Google search. And if you want to dive into a few other neighborhoods and see what else San Diego has to offer, we just made this video right here, so go check that one that's popping up and do a little more digging and figure out which neighborhood it was perfect for you right here in San Diego.